Okay, awesome. Let me share my screen with you guys. Hi, I'm Alvanita Hope Negron. I am the Director of Enrollment at the Friends School of Atlanta. I've been here since, wow, this is my third year now at the Friends School. My background is in college counseling, college admissions, so it's been a treat to be with little ones, especially since I do have three. I have an 18-year-old who graduated is at the Joffrey School of Ballet. I have a 13-year-old, and I have a 7-year-old who is at the Friends School with me. The Friends School is a pre-K 3 through 8th grade program. We are located in Decatur, Georgia, and we are just founded in 1991, celebrating our 30th year to be a school of that models diversity. And since we're going through currently 2 pandemics right now, unfortunately, it's great to be in a community that values both our mental and physical well-being as well as social and emotional well-being as well, on top of having a top-notch academic program. As I mentioned earlier, my background is in college admission, college counseling, and my first sit-in on an admissions tour, I said, "Wow!" And they're with our student ambassadors, so 7th grade and 8th graders. I was thoroughly impressed with their level of confidence, knowing their voice, being able to speak clearly and being articulate and expressing their thoughts. And I was like, wow, they're setting up a great foundation for those students to be ready to go on to high school. Our plans were and still are to have a high school by the time that your child is ready to go to high school. We were doing a feasibility study right prior to COVID hitting. And but that's on the back burner right now, but I'm sure as time goes on we will pick that right back up. So as I was saying earlier, we are a pre-K 3 through 8th grade program founded in 1991. We are a Quaker school, so we are one of 78 Quaker schools in the United States. And to say that, that means that all of our tenets are based upon 7 spices, which are simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship. Everything that we do goes around those tenets. You do not need to be a Quaker to attend the Friends School of Atlanta. Actually, I'm not Quaker. Actually, the majority of our school is not Quaker. So, and we do not raise and train the next group of Quakers. It's just the way that we live and walk the walk here, and making sure that if I can come to work and school and be my best self, then that's what you are allowed. You should expect that your classmate and peers should be able to do so as well. We're one of 78 schools. If you've heard of Sitwell Friends in Washington, D.C., or the George School, or maybe colleges like Gulliford or Emerson, those are all Quaker schools. But Sitwell is where ambassadors and presidential leaders have sent their kids in DC, and it's over 330 years of academic foundations, those strong academics. Quakers are actually the first ones to have school and believe that everyone should be educated in the United States for the democracy to work. So women, people of color, the poor all had benefits of an education back in the early over 300 years ago. I'm saying a lot. So if you ever have questions, just raise your hand in the chat. Our curriculum, like I said, pre-K 3, but kindergartners, oh my gosh, right now the class size is 16. And the largest class size for kindergarten is 22 or 24, just depending on the year. That includes 2 lead teachers, not a teacher and a parapro, but 2 lead teachers in that classroom setting. The day normally begins at, earliest you could drop off is 7:45. Pick up is at school begins at 8:15, and then pre-COVID pickup was was at 3:15, but now we're doing a blended program where school begins at 8:15, pickup is at 11:45 unless you're doing extended day, and then you go from 12 until 3 o'clock doing your online learning. And being a parent here, I'm about to put on my parent hat 1 second. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with these teachers and how they have tackled online learning from the itsy bitsies all the way, and showing them how to go to school now wearing a mask, and embracing that from and that all the way up to our 8th graders who unfortunately are not getting that 8th grade year that they thought they would have of being able to have all the activities, but showing and embracing that community where they'll be able to do and have fun with their friends. In addition to that, our parents are totally on board, getting together for visits whenever possible, with masks, and just make sure we're building community. Like today, we're having a friendly hour. We have that every first Friday or Thursday of the month, where families just get together in breakout rooms just to talk and chit chat, just to make sure we maintain that community. What else can I tell you about the pre-K 4? Begins our Lego robotics program and coding. So obviously kindergarten will do that. The basics are obviously language arts, handwriting without tears, everyday math through the University of Chicago, purist in writing, writer's journal. Then we have environmental science as a part of our curriculum as well. We have a beautiful greenway space where students are able to go out and explore and learn about nature, make sure they're good stewards to our environment, making sure that we're leaving the place better than we found it. 5th graders become certified water testers with the state. I am not looking forward to that with my 7-year-old, because I can imagine every creek, every stream he sees, he's going to want to get out and test that water. But in saying that, we're able to do individualized learning by having such small classroom sizes that teachers are able to know who your child is. So that first 6 weeks of school, you'll do a goal setting conference where you'll come in with goals for your child, and the teacher will share their goals. And then sometimes your student will have goals. Like my son this year wants to learn his timetables, which I think is pretty impressive for a 2nd grader. But I think he wants to be like his siblings. But going back to individualized learning, we are able to know how your child learns best. So if your child needs to be that exclamation point at the end of the sentence, we'll help them be that. If they learn better by just listening or writing or doing, we'll help them do that as well. If they need additional challenge work, we're able to provide that. Why? Because our teachers are trained to know who your child is and how they learn best. Are there any questions about what I'm asking so far? What are you looking for in a school? Where are you right now in the process of we just went live with our applications yesterday, so I know you probably have your hands full trying to figure out what you're going to do now as well as what you're going to do in the future. But I am curious to tell me who you are and your child, if you have a girl or boy, and their names, just because I like to know names.
We can just go down the line.
Here
if
to
you would
just
like.
to just call on the names
Okay,
you see.
Emily, could you tell me a little bit about you and your family?
Hi, sure. I'm Emily. Our son is Robert, and we're actually not looking for this coming year, but he would start the next year. He's got
Okay.
an October birthday, so he's almost 4. We live in Decatur, actually, and we've just been really impressed with our experience at Suzuki, and I'm really looking for a school environment that mimics that as much as possible, honestly, because it's been so good. And I also was told, I think, that your school is particularly keen or what's the word, careful about food allergies, and that's been a real problem for us. So I was wondering, maybe you could speak to that for a minute, what the food program is like at the school.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Emily, for introducing yourself. And yeah, definitely next year you're ahead of the game, which I love as well. So food. Right now, because of COVID, everyone brings in their own food. And even beforehand, students normally bring in their own snacks. If there's a nut allergy or any type of allergy, we post and we send that information out to the classroom as a whole. And no nuts or peanuts are allowed in that particular classroom if someone has a nut allergy. The other thing is that we cater with dinners and a dash. And they're known for having very specific meals that fit your lifestyle. So if you need vegan, gluten-free, nut-free, they're able to provide those meals to you, and you're in a catered format. Your order normally the Saturday before at noon for the following week, and you can order up to 3 weeks. And then pre-COVID, I always say pre-COVID, sometimes that you will have, if you let them know, they could prepare dinner, and that dinner be waiting for you in a cooler to take home with you, which I find as a single mom with 3 very helpful on those days that we had lots and lots of activities to do. So I hope I answered your question, Emily.
Yes, thank you.
You're
that
welcome.
Helps.
Fantastic. Joanne?
Hi, my name is Joanne Hsieh. My daughter is Rosie. She is almost 3.5. And as you said in your intro, I've heard, we've lived, we're been in Atlanta about a year, but we've lived in, on the East Coast and the West Coast. We've heard a lot about the philosophy around the Friends schools. So we've been very interested and look forward to hopefully visiting in person. We, had wanted to last fall, but didn't quite make it in, but we've been very happy thus far with everything we've heard. So, thank you for taking the time.
No, it's my pleasure. Yes, we're actually getting ready to have a virtual tour produced next week. We're very excited about that. I'll share more about that later, who's producing it and that sort of thing. So it's a family member, their child goes here, but they're Emmy nominated for film writing and things of that sort. So we're really excited about that. But yes, the philosophy of Friends is what draws me here as well, in addition to the curriculum and the community as a whole, as being a parent. I was doing the tours with Wayman, who's our head of school, and I was walking around, I was listening to him talk, I was looking at the classrooms in session, and I was like, oh my gosh, my kid needs to be here. So I withdrew him. My kids were lifers at their school, but I withdrew him and brought him over with me just because I was like, there's something special about this place, and I'm looking forward to being able to do in-person tours. But until then, our tours are now live. I posted them. We went live yesterday for our applications, and our tours are on our website, or you go to Ravenna where you can sign up, and it's a Zoom, and you'll be able to talk with parents, our student ambassadors, and the head of school in an intimate setting like this where you'll be able to ask questions. But yeah, I am looking forward. I'm excited to be back on campus. At first, I live in Duluth, so I have a serious commute to Decatur every day, but the traffic has been lovely compared to what it has been in the past, and it just feels good to be back in my office and hear the laughter of the children, or actually to hear my 7-year-old roll up my window, and he's at break. He's like, "Hey, Mom! Hey, Mom!" And I turn around, we have a little conversation out the window, and he goes on about his business. So just real welcoming there in the garden where he's doing that. So yes, I'm looking forward to meeting you and Rosie soon. Joanne, thank you. Ross, I've seen your name several times.
Oh, he's connected to us.
Oh, perfect. I was like,
Yeah,
I've seen those names.
Yeah, we're double teaming this.
Awesome. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I know that. I didn't put the connection to the, I was like, I know that name, Joanne. And then I was like, I know Ross. Would you ever see? That's part of my job. I don't forget a face, and I very seldom forget a name. So it's a blessing and a curse, per se. Do you have any questions or?
Oh, no, none yet.
Okay, awesome.
I think this is very informative. Thank you.
Fantastic. Kristen.
Hey, I'm Kristen Walker. I am the assistant director here at the Suzuki Schools Buckhead campus, and used to work over at the Pont City Market campus, where I've had the privilege of visiting your school a couple of times. So just getting updates from you all and on what's going on over at the Friends School and changes that you've made so that I am up to speed for our parents over here.
Fantastic. One thing that we are doing in our middle school program is called FSA Innovate, where we are encouraging them to be advocates and just taking everything that's going on in our world right now and giving them a voice and helping them process through that in a way that's suitable for their age. So another thing that we're doing is an advocacy program for our 6th grades. Actually, 6th graders were heading to DC right before COVID happened to go to Capitol Hill. They met with all the senators and their local representatives, and then they were going to DC to advocate through a Quaker advocacy program that normally high school through college students were doing, but we are piloting a middle school program. So just teaching, they actually went to the offices. At first they were like, oh, these sweet little kids, they're coming in to talk about their issues. And then they're like, oh, wow. And they start taking notes. So we gave them an opportunity to pick their topic, and they chose gun control. And they had the bills and the legislation, and they knew what they were doing. So making sure that we are producing great positive citizens to society, in addition to them being academically prepared. We do not do formal testing here at the Friends School of Atlanta. That means like the SSAT or JTAP for to be enrolled. We do assessments and trying to figure that out right now in a virtual environment. Hopefully we'll be able to have students come in small groups to do those assessments. But when a student does a test, for example, and they have 10 on a test or assessment, and they got 7 correct and 3 wrong, we don't say, oh, you made a 70, good job, and we move on. We say, okay, you've mastered 70% of this. 3 of them you didn't get right. 2 you're iffy on. 1 you're just not ready for. So those 2 that they're not prepared for, they actually go and, those 2 that they were iffy on, our teachers actually and go and work with them and teach them that information so they're comfortable with it. And the one that they weren't ready for, the way our program works, it cycles back. So they'll be able to go back when they present that information again, and hopefully they've mastered it by that time. But we're always giving them the opportunity for challenge, practice, and mastery, which I love. And homework is light. And so 20 minutes of reading, that's what's required for our early years, either being read to or reading a book. And then when my son got in first grade, it was the reading and one worksheet of math. And now that's pretty much the same here in second grade. Probably around fifth grade, we ramp it up a little bit. Our middle school does begin in fifth grade. And then when you're in sixth, seventh, obviously seventh and eighth, we're preparing them from high school. And where do they go for high school? Anywhere that they want to attend. They've been accepted. So the big schools, those who are ready for large environments like Woodward, to boarding schools like the George School, to their local public schools, they know who a Friends School student is by, and we're like, oh, we're not cookie cutter. They know. We could tell who's a Friends School student, and a bit school feeder right now also is Paideia. So what else do? Ryan, any questions? Okay. E. Charles.
No, this is Paula. No, it's
Okay,
been very
Paula.
It's been very informative. It sounds philosophically very similar to like Unitarian kind of approach to the world, or even Montessori. So it's great.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. No
You're
questions.
welcome. You're welcome. My children, all three of my children did Montessori prior to switching to traditional school. But we do have that philosophy of play-based, a lot of project-based, giving them that love for learning. One thing that I did see with my son with the virtual learning that I had not, I know he's getting from here, is the love of learning. And they were doing a lesson on common nouns and proper nouns. So they watched the video before and he wasn't grasping it before and answering. So they were like, okay, give me a common noun that begins with a proper noun that begins with B. So he said, bear. They said, okay. She's like, okay, that's a common noun. He said, brown bear. They said, no, not brown bear. Then he was like, anyway, he didn't know to say like Bob was the name of the bear. So once he figured that out, that he didn't grasp the information, he went back and watched that video until he could understand that concept. So giving them that knowledge, that inner desire to learn and grow from your mistakes, I appreciate that tremendously. So one other thing about testing, although we do not test formally, our students who do take the SSAT to go on to high school at another institution, those who had some type of learning difference like dysgraphia or dyslexia or something like that, they were testing on level or high school level. Those who did not were testing post high school, which lets you know that we are doing what we need to do in the classroom. So academically, I'm not concerned. Academically, we are top notch. But to get the social part, I think that's just a perk as well.
You know, I'm actually so glad that you brought that point up, because I did have a question. Do you guys have any assistance like tutoring and things for students who may have learning disabilities?
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk about that?
We have a learning specialist, one for elementary school, as well as one for middle school, as well as a school counselor who works with first or second through eighth grade. And if a student has a learning challenge or learning difference, they're able to work with the head of the levels head, either middle school or elementary school, as well as the learning specialists. And prior to COVID, we were having outside, if you had a tutor, they could come on premises during the day and work with your child during the day in a special space. And then the other thing that we're able to do is not necessarily modify the curriculum, but modify what's required per se. So instead of you having to do the whole worksheet, if you could conquer 2 or 3 and do it successfully of a math problem, then that will be sufficient. We just want to make sure you grasp that information. But yes, we do work with students who have some type of learning difference.
Could you touch on your diversity in terms of how diverse is your school and what are your plans for diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I'm glad you brought that up. I am on the board as an ex-officio member, and the board has brought to light, or is lifting up this year, our diversity. As I mentioned earlier, we were founded in 1991 to be a model of diversity, and initially that was ethnic diversity, but now it has expanded to whatever you can think of is at the Friends School of Atlanta, from we have a couple transgender children, same-sex married children from same-sex families, as well as ethnic, religious, non-religious. It represents the community that we live in, and I think that's great. So you learn to hear a difference of opinion and know that's okay, and to respect that opinion and learn and grow from other people as well. On our diversity equity committee, the name's been changed, diversity, equity, and action, because it doesn't make sense to talk about it if you're not going to have actions behind it as well. So an action committee, and on any given year, it's 50 to 40% people of color. So, and the majority of the people of color will be African American, but that's also, we dedicate 17% of our budget to financial aid. So we want to make sure we have a good social economic diversity as well, and that begins, you can be considered for aid if needed, and that begins in kindergarten.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I could talk about this school all day.
Could you touch on, because this is a big one, could you touch on your capacities? And I know you might have already done this, but capacities and ratios for your classrooms in kindergarten?
Right now 16 students in that classroom, and normally it would be 22, 24 with 2 lead teachers. So it's 10 to 1, 8 to 1, like that. Like my son's class, the 2nd grade class, they're doing such a phenomenal job on virtual learning. Only 4 came back to campus. So he has a class of 18, and there are 4 boys in that classroom. I'm like, these mamas are like, you're going back to that classroom. So, but everybody else is at home learning still virtually. But that says a lot. That says that, they're doing a phenomenal job. But so there's one teacher with the four boys, and then they do it online as well. So they still see their classmates during the day and that sort of thing, which is pretty cool. But normally, for any given class, we normally try to keep 10 to 1 or 8 to 1 student-teacher ratio, as I mentioned earlier, from pre-K 3 all the way through our or 4th grade. It's 2 lead teachers per classroom. And then middle school, you break 2 homerooms. So there's no more than 14 students in a homeroom, and you go together from 8th grade through. We want to be intentionally intimate so we can maintain that relationship with our students, making sure that we know how they best learn, do those individualized learning, making sure that we're meeting their needs to be successful.
And the extended daycare is included in tuition, right?
For pre-K 3 through kindergarten, yes.
Okay.
So that's from 12 until 3. And then if it were pre-COVID, or once we get back to normal, it'll be from 3 to 6. That's included in tuition. Then so it's crazy to talk pre-COVID whatever. So I'm looking forward to the day I don't have to say that anymore.
Yeah.
We know oh too well.
Oh, yeah.
I had a question. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
In terms of foreign languages, could you expand on that? Do you guys have a DLI program or?
We do Spanish for our pre-K 3. I could tell you about our electives. Our electives for our elementary school and early learners, it's environmental science, PE, music, art, not crafts, art. I've been taught there's a difference. And Spanish and reading room. And the reading room is the library and innovation lab, where I mentioned that earlier. Spanish is more for learning the joy of the culture and fundamentals of the language. Once you get to middle school, that transitions to being able to understand for fluency. In the 7th to 8th grade, by the time you graduate, if you pick either Latin or Spanish, you'll be fluent and you can get high school credit. Yeah, I said I was going to go sit in Spanish class and learn to be fluent. My first, I did French in high school, and I went to Agnes Scott, and I placed out of freshman year French, and then I met my ex-husband, who was Puerto Rican, and I started learning Spanish, and then I would mix my Spanish with my French. He was like, so be stuck with English. But I want to learn Spanish. So, and the Spanish teacher is so amazing that that his class just looks so fun. They make a video. When I walked out of my office one day, like, come be in the video. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, those are our 2 language requirements or language options for our school. And we have almost 3 acres of green space, and chickens and bees. And we started school year off 2 years ago with goats, eating the kudzu. So it's in a fantastic 1,700 square foot gym where students could go and run and play. And it's just a wonderful campus that, we were getting ready to do a couple, some remodels. I saw the plans, and then COVID hit.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful campus. Just thinking about when I toured last year with you and just feeling like this is just such an amazing place. And I wish that our families could get the opportunity this year, but hopefully next year they'll have.
Hopefully you never know, in the spring, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, definitely.
So I know that you guys were buying another building, right? Or you bought another building. What were you guys planning to do with that? Because I can't.
We're getting the space next to us. We bought the land, so we so building that high school. So
got it. So that's where the high school is going to be. Got it.
Yeah, that's what we were laying everything out. I mean, I saw the plans, and I was like, yes. Oh. I have skin in this game. I don't want to have to figure out where I'm gonna send my 7-year-old.
Right.
Exactly. Questions about siblings, because a lot of our families, of course, have more than one child. Do you give preference for siblings?
Definitely so, as well as a sibling discount. I have empathy for that, having 3 that won't have to go from school to school, And
I know you probably touched on this before, but do you guys have sports and play other?
Oh yes, I'm sorry, I did not mention that.
Well, because of COVID this year, so I'm sure it's been.
Yeah, totally. We have middle school aftercare. We have like anything from soccer to dance to performing arts. We do have performing arts, musical theater as a part of our curriculum as well. I did not mention that. But as far as after school, chess club, taekwondo, and then music lessons. You take piano and music lessons or guitar. In the mornings, you could also take get instructions. But our sports are basketball, that starts in middle school, a competitive team, competitive track team, and a competitive ultimate frisbee team. The beauty of the Friends is that if there's a sport or an activity that you would like to see, if there's enough interest, we will organize that for you. That's how the girls team started a couple of years, 3 years ago. A student was in 8th grade. She had been on the boys team playing. She was like, listen, I know there are more girls than this that want to play basketball. So she went and got a petition, got her friends to sign it, then gave it to the basketball coach, the athletic director rather. It was like, here, now give this to the parents. And so now we have both of girls and boys ultimate frisbee and basketball team.
How many total students are in the school? Or like, for example, your 8th grade class, how many do you graduate into high school?
Right now we have 24 in our 8th grade class. And as far as the whole entire school, it is at 171.
Okay.
And those numbers, we made those numbers small intentionally this year for COVID, just to make sure we can have some social distancing. But normally it'll be like 190.
Speaking of COVID, and I know that hopefully we're not here in years to come, but what precautions are you guys taking? Are you doing temperature checks and masks required and all of that?
Definitely. We have a special entrance for little ones to come through where our parents are allowed to, normally our parents could walk in the building every day and drop anyone off to school. But right now, they are able to walk to the door where they ask the questions, headache, body ache, sore throat, do the temperature check. And then before you walk in the building, hand washing station. And then walk through your class. We have one direction entrances. So once you've been, I guess, cleared, you don't go back the other way until someone, you leave for the next day one-way traffic. The other thing is masks are required. If the cloth mask, as well as we hired we hired a school nurse, as well as hired additional custodial staff to sanitize the building as soon as kids wipe things down. Even the playground. Even the playground with swings and things of that sort. So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any other questions? Because you were so informative when you were, talking in the beginning. I'm like, she answered all my questions.
I know. I felt like I was just talking. I was like, wait a minute.
No, it was perfect. But yeah, I don't have any other questions. I think that what we'll do moving forward is our parents, I'm sure they'll have a bunch for us, and we can either give them your information or send you the questions. Other than that, though, I have nothing else. I'm just so thankful that you agreed to join us in this very unique
year.
Yeah, well, if you will see me like this next couple of weeks doing our